I'm Ben Ryman, and this is Behaviour Speak. In this conversation, Dr. Anastasiia shares her journey from Kyrgyzstan to becoming a licensed psychologist in Alaska. She discusses her diverse experiences in psychology, including her work in behavior analysis and school psychology. Anastasiia emphasizes the importance of understanding systems of mental health and the challenges faced by parents of children with special needs in Kyrgyzstan. She highlights the emergence of applied behavior analysis in her home country and its impact on parenting stress and social emotional development. Dr. Jun shares her experience. Dr. Jun shares her response to the Russian-Ukrainian War, detailing her efforts to provide free training and support to the community. All right, welcome to Behaviour. Thank you, Anastasiia.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Yeah, stoked. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge I am producing this podcast on the territories of the Klamath, Klehus, Moko, Comox, and Sechelt First Nations, who have been stewards of this land since time immemorial, and I'm grateful to be here. All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, now I have to also declare that I'm living on the land of Dena'ina, Athabascan people in Anchorage, Alaska, and I'm also very happy to be here, but it hasn't been even a year since I moved in here. But I do know that I am living on the land of Dena'ina.
Well done.
My name is Anastasiia, and I am originally from Kyrgyzstan. That's my motherland. And I am a licensed psychologist in Nebraska and Alaska, a school psychologist, behavior analyst, work internationally. I used to work internationally quite a lot. Right now I work in Alaska as an assistant professor at the University of Alaska in Anchorage.
So tell me a little bit about kind of how you got into this field, or well, these fields, I guess.
So a long time ago.
Good place to start.
Yeah, a long time ago, when I was a high schooler, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, but I wanted to do something that's related to medicine, and I decided to apply to one of the best colleges in the universities in Kyrgyzstan, which was the American University of Psychology. They did not have a medical department. The closest one they had was the psychology department, so that's where I started. And then I became, while I was doing my bachelor's in psychology, my goal was to become mental health. I mean, a psychologist, a counseling psychologist, like a very traditional talk therapist, which I am, by the way, right now, and I'm also an EMDR trained therapist, so that's what I'm doing. I love this work. While I was doing all that, one of my classmates and friends, she was working a lot on developing the field of applied behavior analysis in Kyrgyzstan, and I really like just laughing with her, hanging out with her. Sometimes I joke, I really joke about that and tell her, well, I have no idea how I've got here, and now I have a BCBAD. We started with laughing, and now I have BCBAD. It was mostly her at the very beginning. So she and other people she was working with, they had an association for parents with children with special needs, and that's where I did one of my practicum. We also had a class on applied behavior analysis on the college level, and one of the requirements was to do the practicum, so that's where we went, and I really liked it. It was very applied. I enjoyed it. So ever since then, I've been in the field. I think I started in 2013. It's been over 12 years now, I think, or almost 12 years. Actually, more, right? No, I don't remember. Yeah, a long time.
And where were you for when you were doing your BCBA training and practicum and that kind of work?
I was in Kyrgyzstan. I did my BCBA training online at Clemson University in South Carolina, but most of my applied training, was in Kyrgyzstan. Yeah. And I did my master's there as well, but then I did my PhD in Boston. Yeah, that's a different path though.
And so, and then somewhere in there, you got into school psychology as well. Do you have a certification with the International Behavior Analysis Organization, the Qualified Applied Behavior Analysis Credentialing Board, the Behavior Analyst Certification Board, or are certified through your region's Behavior Analyst Credentialing Board? You can earn continuing education units for this episode by going to www.behaviorspeak.com and clicking on CEUs. The first secret word is trauma. Trauma. TRAUMA.
So before I got to the school psychology, I did my master's in mental health counseling, also in Kyrgyzstan. At the same time, I was working on my BCBA certification and training. And then since I did a lot of work with children and I worked a lot with their families, I was kind of curious about what we could do beyond the clinic level. I mean, yes, we do work with them in clinics, but what do we do? What do we actually do then when they go to educational settings? And I received so many questions from parents on how we need to prep those children, what kind of things they need to know, what kind of things they need to do. Honestly, I did not know how to prepare them for a school setting, and I didn't really know how we can be helpful in a school setting. At some point, I realized, but that was also a recommendation from one of the professors to go to school psychology. And I thought it was one of the very nice ideas because I already know how to work with adults. School psychology is kind of different. It's very similar to counseling psychology, but you just work with a different population. You work with children and adolescents. The difference is that you also get training on the systems level perspective, how systems function, how to help children to adapt to an educational system, what's needed, how to support the whole educational development and mental health development in a school setting, which is a huge part of our lives. So I thought, well, if I'm already receiving so many questions from parents, if I'm already learning how to transition children from a clinic, from the clinical environment to an educational environment without understanding how to do that, I should probably get some education in that. This is how I decided to do a PhD in school psychology. I didn't want to go far away from behavior analysis, so I did my dissertation to meet dual requirements for BCBAD and for school psychology.
Wow, that's busy. Okay.
It was really busy. It was very difficult.
And that was all happening in Kyrgyzstan.
No, my PhD training was at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, but my dissertation research was in Kyrgyzstan.
Gotcha. And then where did you kind of go from there once you got your PhD?
I did my postdoctoral training at the Children's Nebraska, where I received, I think, more training on parent-child relationships. I was a developmental pediatrics psychologist working with children with a lot of needs, a lot of solution-focused therapy, a lot of behavioral therapy, behavior parent management techniques that I had to prescribe to parents and work with them. I'm not sure, have you heard of PCAT, parent-child interaction therapy?
It sounds familiar. Tell me about it.
It's a combination of behaviorism, humanistic psychology, and psychodynamic approaches,
Wow.
where they use all of that and attachment theory. Well, they use all of that to kind of conceptualize the case and develop a treatment plan. But the way they deliver the treatment is very behavioral because they develop behavioral measurable outcomes and goals, and they track data every single time you deliver therapy. And I had to learn how to teach parents how to play and how to give directions to follow and how to give effective directions to children so they can follow those directions and provide immediate reinforcement to the children that's meaningful for them. And then also teach them how to delay that reinforcement. So that was beautiful because it really, I think my behavioral background really helped me to be more effective in this. So after that, and I also worked a lot with children who had cancer, who had yeah. So my postdoctoral training was very diverse. I was in the clinic observing, I guess, a lot of things. I was in the clinic for autism, where I had to learn how to diagnose autism. I was in the clinic for developmental pediatrics, where I saw a lot of cases. Then I had a lot of observations of cases where my supervisor worked also with children with cancer and other diseases, like major diseases. And then before that, my internship was with Department of Health and Human Services in Nebraska, which was also a very different world. I worked with people from 17 years old till death, with intellectual disabilities, with antisocial personality disorder, with schizophrenia, with it's a former psychiatric clinic that was reformed into group homes, and I had to supervise some units and
Wow.
supervise their therapists, develop plans, track data, provide services, also do intellectual disability testing, a lot of tests, a lot of assessments and testing, and worked with state budgets where we had to decide either a group of therapists or like a group home or a shared living provider is eligible to receive state funds, or they had to stop receive the state funds. But in order to do that, we had to review a lot of data and work with them. So that was my internship.
Wow.
Yeah. So after that, I decided to become an academic.
No doubt. No doubt.
No, it's interesting because I actually want to do research. So that's what my focus is on right now. I'm trying to publish publications that I used to work. I worked on. So now I have more protected time for that. I like teaching. And this year I will also be working for a day and a half in Anchorage School District as a school psychologist. So I am trying to combine research, teaching, and clinical practice usually
Really
when I
cool.
can.
Really cool. You've had such a wide, diverse set of experiences in what seems like maybe a relatively short period of time.
Is it? A short period of time? I don't know. It
Well,
sounds to me like a long
just
period of time.
it seems like you're still relatively young in your career, but you've sort of been able to work in so many different settings with so many different populations. It's quite amazing for it must be really helpful kind of leading into the work you're doing now to have those experiences.
I love it. I love it because it gives me diversity, and I really enjoy I'm really enjoying to. I love providing mental health counseling to people, and I think having some background in different fields helps me to connect a lot of dots and be an effective therapist, or being an effective supervisor, or being an effective consultant, because I can work with different cases and different questions. It does help me.
Yeah. And what is it about mental health counseling that you love so much?
I just love seeing how personality develops. I just love seeing how humans think, how they feel. I like connecting feelings with behaviors, with thoughts. I like very traditional counseling, and I really love EMDR. I really love working with trauma, depression, with anxiety, with adjustment issues, with relationships. That's one of my also favorite things. Parent-child relationships, teacher-student relationships, couples, stress, and just like seeing how one person gets from one point to a different point and being able to kind of like observe it and support. I don't know. I'm just getting so much joy out of it. I can't even describe it. I think it's one thing when you work as a behavioral therapist with children who cannot talk, but it's a completely different working with fully able people who can develop thoughts and feelings and just help them to function in a more healthy way. I think it's also a behavior, right? I mean, it's a different type of behavior. It's something that's very difficult to measure, but also something that's for me personally, it's beautiful to look at. Gives me life. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can see that. How did you end up in Alaska?
I got a position here of assistant professor in the psychology department. I'm a little bit at this point of my life, I'm a little bit tired of very, very hectic and busy cities. And I need more time to, I think, calm down. PhD has been developing 3 different specialties, professions, for me personally has been very challenging and difficult. I think I need some quiet time right now. So Alaska is a place where I can go on a lot of hikes. It's amazing. It's beautiful. People have been very nice to me. Life is a little bit more slowly paced, and I think I can finally breathe a little bit. But yes, now when you're saying, yeah, I did do a lot of things in a relatively short period of time. It took a lot of energy out of me.
I can definitely relate to small town living versus big city living. I can see how it works out really well. So you're really focused on a lot of the academic areas. What kinds of areas are you researching?
Right now, well, I am personally interested in social emotional development. In people, I'm also interested in trauma work and researching how people adjust to different educational settings across lifespan and also like adjust to different places. My research topics are very broad because I am trained in different fields. I like interdisciplinary research. My dissertation was on social emotional development of children in Kyrgyz schools. My plan was to teach teachers how to become more emotionally aware of how to be like more, pretty much how to raise emotional intelligence in children. And they had to do it on a class, like on a group level, class level setting. But what I'm trying to publish right now is a little bit different. It's a bachelor thesis of my colleague, of my friend. It's on applied behavior analysis, parent training, and its impact on parenting stress levels among parents of children with autism in Kyrgyzstan. So I'm trying to publish that thing. So that's what I'm interested in right now, like at the moment. It's the very first parenting training in the whole country of Kyrgyzstan that happened in 2014 and 2015.
Well, it's maybe a good segue to talk a bit more about sort of ABA and autism and whatnot in Kyrgyzstan. Before we get there, I was wondering if you could just tell for folks that might not know just a little bit about Kyrgyzstan, kind of where it is and a bit about the culture and how big is it, that kind of thing. Sure, yeah.
Then is a part of Central Asia, very small country. We have around 70 million population, but like around closer, like between 93 or 94%, like somewhere in between. The whole terrain is just mountains.
Wow.
So yeah, so Alaska is kind of close to me because I'm used to mountains and there are so many mountains here. The only difference is that we do not have an ocean in Kyrgyzstan, but it's a really beautiful place. Some people probably don't really know. They usually think about that region as a stan region, but stan from Turkic means place. So when you say Kyrgyzstan, it means it's a place for Kyrgyz people. So if you say Tajikistan, that means that this is a place for Tajik people. Uzbekistan is a place for Uzbek people. So stan has a meaning. It used to be a part of the Soviet Union. So we just like on a state level, we have two official languages, which is Kyrgyz and Russian. So Russian is my native language. Maybe you can ask me questions like, what are you curious about?
Well, I guess you say Central Asia. Can you be a little more specific? Sort of where might we find it on a map? What does it border? Just to kind of give us an idea of kind of where it is.
It borders on east, it borders with China. On north, it borders with Kazakhstan. On south, it borders with Tajikistan. And on the west, it borders with Uzbekistan. It's like literally in the center of Central Asia.
It's truly Central Asia. And you mentioned the languages are Russian, and the other one was what?
Kyrgyz.
And can you tell me what sort of is that an old language? Do a lot of folks speak it? Do you speak it?
I personally do not speak Kyrgyz, but majority of the population speaks Kyrgyz, and that's I am a representation of those people who are not ethnically Kyrgyz. Most people who are not ethnically Kyrgyz do not speak Kyrgyz. We speak usually Russian. It's just how would you say? It's one of the remnants of the Soviet Union. Yeah, I am Korean and Russian, so I speak Russian. I do not speak Korean, but I speak Russian.
Gotcha. And so what was sort of life like kind of growing up there for you?
Difficult to explain because I grew up in a major city. So growing up in a major city in a valley is very different from growing up in a smaller city and not in a valley.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain it. Don't know how to farm. People know how to farm.
Right.
I don't really know how to live in a yurt. Some people know how to live in a yurt. I grew up in a flat, in an apartment, went to school, went to a Russian speaking school.
Yeah.
did my college in an American college. Even there, I feel like it's hard for me to describe how educational system
Right.
looks like on the and the higher end in Kyrgyzstan, because my experience is very Americanized.
So tell me a bit about kind of, I guess, sort of a bit of, you said this is kind of, this paper is sort of on the very first ABA training in Kyrgyzstan. You're saying that was around 2014. What's sort of give me a little bit about the sort of the history of ABA. Did this start with you and your friend, or what's the origin story there?
The origin story is that she wanted to develop applied behavior analysis because of her son. She has a son with autism. People with special needs have a very hard time finding services that which are appropriate for them. We have a lot of outdated training and people who were trained by very outdated in a very outdated way. So we did not have good access to services that's very specific and specialized for people with autism and severe behavioral issues, because prior to the collapse of the Soviet Union, people with special needs were, like in the US, they lived in institutions and then they had to institutionalize them. It just took us a little bit longer. It happened in the US, it happened like much earlier than it happened in Kyrgyzstan. So it took us longer. But for us, it was very difficult to see how we can provide services, what to do. We did not know what to do. She did not know what to do. But she also lived in the US for quite a bit of time. But then she had to return back home and live in Kyrgyzstan. She could not find services there. But also, it was also a long time ago when she returned. She didn't even know that she would need services for children with special needs in Kyrgyzstan. So she was researching and trying to find out how to support her kid, and she was working with a lot of parents of children with autism, and they could not find services. The best they could do was to try to get some education, try to invite different specialists to work with children who would show to them what to do. And they would do their best as parents and implement those recommendations. One of the big changes was that when she met a BCBA from the US, and she invited him to Kyrgyzstan, try to work with us. Then I don't really know how exactly it happened, but he also started teaching a class on applied behavior analysis at the University of Central Asia in Kyrgyzstan. American University of Central Asia, and that's the college, that's the university I went to, that's the university my friend went to. And since she's also a co-founder of one of the earliest and the biggest organizations that spreads information on autism in Kyrgyzstan, she also became very helpful at establishing a center of applied behavior analysis. She doesn't own it, but she was one of the people who helps to do that in Kyrgyzstan, in Bishkek. That's the capital of the country. So I was in a group of the very first RBTs in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, the very first trained therapists who were able to start providing entry-level services to children with special needs, and it became fascinating for me. That's how I started working in the field. This is how I stayed. I saw all the value in it. And while I was learning how to become a behavior therapist, and while I was providing services, she was also working on her thesis, on her research thesis, where she developed, and she and her dissertation chair, thesis chair, they developed a parent training on applied behavior analysis. I think there was a group of 14 people who were behavioral therapists, and the very first behavioral therapists in the country. So there was no way we could provide services to whole families. And she was trying to find a different solution in addition to this. Her solution was to teach parents some behavior management techniques, provide psychoeducation about autism is and what to do and how to use ABLs to develop their own, plan and work on skills
Wow.
Yeah, she wanted to see how that would relate to their parenting stress in the family. Yeah. So this is how this whole thing started.
And so how did that go? What were some of the outcomes?
The outcomes were that let me actually open them. So she used, I have to give you the exact name
Sure.
of the instrument that she used. It's called the Parenting Stress Index that is divided into two domains, the parent domain and the child domain, which measures different stress factors. So if we look at the child domain, the child factors that influence the parenting stress, they are usual distractibility and hyperactivity, adaptability, their ability to reinforce parents' behavior, demandingness, which is the level of what demands that they put on the parents, like also mood and acceptability, I guess. Acceptability of the parents' acceptability of the child's diagnosis and who. And then she also measured the parent domain, which included parental feeling of competence, of being able to manage the behavior and being a parent, feelings of isolations, feelings of attachment, which measured their level of attachment to the child, their overall health, and the role restriction, which usually comes with parenting a child with special needs. They feel like they only can do this thing and they could not they can't really attend social events or other places. Also feelings of depression and relationship with a spouse. So the outcomes were very good. Well, first of all, the training was not very long. They only had, let me look how many sessions. They only had 7 sessions, and the topics they only had 7. It was like a relatively short training. So they covered information on basics of autism, the existing evidence-based practices, common misconceptions of autism, and evidence-based practices, the rationale for parent training, why they need to learn how to parent children with special needs differently now. Then they also worked on learning the principles of ABA, like motivation, reinforcement, ABC, differential reinforcement, preference assessment. Then they also learned how to use the ABC model to develop some like sort of function-based interventions for challenging behaviors, learned techniques like prompting, assessment of skills deficits using ABLES. They also talked a lot on sensory needs of children with autism because there are some sensory needs, routines, schedules, importance of visual schedules to support learning, picture-based communication system. Also different interventions like discrete trial teaching, adaptive teaching, shaping training, and more training on ABLES on how to use ABLES, like development of receptive language, gross and fine motor skills, and etc. So only like these topics covered in 7 sessions. I think everybody can understand that they were not extremely deep on those topics. So she wanted to see if even the entry level information would be, I guess, comforting for parents, if they would find it like useful or not. So what she found was that parental competence has increased. So this feeling of confidence, I think, was very important for them because the parents would finally feel like they had more understanding how to be an effective parent with their children. It boosted their self-esteem. And also they reported that this perceived confidence in their ability to manage behaviors actually did help them to manage the children's challenging behaviors.
Sure. Yeah.
They learned even like very limited area of those behavior management strategies did help them to gain some basic understanding of basic principles of behavior. They did have some issues with their spouses because now they would like go home and say, "Hey, now we need to do this thing," and their spouses would say like, "Why?" Like, "No, we're not going to do this." So one of the recommendations that we're actually describing in the paper is that it would be great to include like both parents into the training because
Sure.
like to avoid those frictions, but at the same time I feel like realistically it's very difficult to do so. Somebody needs to make money and be the breadwinner.
Yeah.
Usually research also shows that when parents feel confident, it increases their competence to provide effective parenting strategies because they begin to believe in themselves, they make less mistakes, and they learn how to ask more effective questions. it does relate to parenting stress, which relates to so many other different things like health. Those parents also reported in a training that they started feeling less lonely and they started to experience greater social support post-training because they also learned more about how like autism looks like and how to talk to different people. She did not measure it, but I assume they felt a little bit like less stigmatized.
Yeah.
But that would be one of my assumptions because if I think one of the benefits of this kind of it was a group parent training, so they saw other people struggling, they saw other people learning, going like through the same thing. They developed relationships. They decided to create a very close Facebook page, like group page, where they would like, share information with each other. So they started building relationships, which was I think amazing for them. And they had prior to the training, they felt very isolated from people. Now they got more social support and they learn how to talk to their family members. And in Kyrgyzstan, speaking of culture, it's very difficult to have a child with special needs. People would point at you. Yeah, and they would interpret child's negative behavior as their personal or parents' inability to parent their children. It doesn't really cross their mind like very fast, like very quickly that it might be a health diagnosis that causes all of this. So anyway, so their sense of personal freedom has improved, self-identity improved. They felt less restricted in their parenting role. They felt like they could do many more things other than just to provide food to the children and like support their basic living skills. Time that this training helped them to free them from spending most of their time on behavior management, help them to spend it on other things, which also helped them to that's what they reported is their depression symptoms also reduced after that. That was one of the results. There are more results if you're interested in listening.
So was this training delivered virtually or in person?
In person.
In person.
They had to what did they do? So the training did not include children. It only included parents. The parents were together at the university and would listen to lectures. But some volunteers who were very brave, they would record video sessions of them trying to implement those strategies with their own children. They would bring those video recordings to the sessions and show to them, and everybody would discuss them and try to see how everything looks like. And yeah, they would get
Yeah, that must have been kind of empowering too, just to be able to sort of, essentially let other people see your child potentially, having issues and not be judged.
I think it was really empowering and difficult. I don't even know how much courage it took from them. I used to work with, I know cases, those were my personal cases when I worked as an ABA therapist. Some families had to cut their ties with their relatives because they were very embarrassed to share this information with people like, hey, my child has a diagnosis. Some people stopped showing their children to their own parents. So the grandparents of the kids were not able to see the kids anymore because the parents of the children were too embarrassed to tell to their own parents that, hey, your grandson or granddaughter has. So I assume that was very empowering for those people to receive this training in a group setting and like, okay, yeah, we all go through the same issue.
Where do these fears come from? Were they valid fears? Do you think they would have been judged by their grandparents and external family? Would there have been a lot of stigma around diagnoses in mental health?
It's so difficult to say because there are not that many published researched articles on that in Kyrgyzstan. I feel like it's something that I would like to research in the future.
Yeah.
But I think what they're scared of it's just some anecdotal information that I got through my work and like families I used to work with. This misunderstanding of the family members of what the actual family unit goes through feels very isolating. And sometimes we would give recommendations to parents, like very specific recommendations, like, okay, so do not give, let's say, this apple before the child asks for it. Wait for the child to ask for an apple, then give the apple. They would have to learn how to follow very specific behavioral recommendations, but the family members and the grandparents would see it as a torture like, okay, why are you doing this? And they would just start giving lecture and be like, okay, so your parents are just being tortured. I would just like give you an apple. And they would kind of like hijack the whole trajectory of the therapy.
Yeah.
And they would have a lot of like quarrels and conflicts and fights about how things would go. The parents would go through their own stages of depression, anger. And it would be very difficult for them to kind of see their family members going through the same process. And I think they just have to go through a lot of devaluation as well. Be like, okay, so like stop talking about your kid being not normal. Like, your kid is normal. They will just outgrow these challenges. So hearing that is also difficult. And also hearing how expensive it is to support the children is also very difficult, because they would receive questions from their family members like, why are you spending so much money? Really not worth it. Like, go and spend money on, dolphin therapy and you'll be okay. That will cure it all. And yes, there is a lot of stigma in the country. I think we need more psychoeducation on how to accept people with diversity.
Well, and it sounds like you're sort of talking about sort of in sort of the Soviet area, folks were living in institutions, primarily folks with sort of these diagnoses. And so just in terms of in a rough timeline, when did that Soviet era end? And well, first off, around when did that end? Because that can give us an idea of sort of how long folks have been maybe out of institutions and that sort of thing.
1991. That's when the Soviet Union collapsed.
Okay, so no, really not that long ago.
Very recently. Yeah.
And certainly when you were thinking about comparing it to sort of the U.S. and, I think deinstitutionalization was more in like the 50s and the 60s. It's when it kind
Around
of
that time,
began.
yeah.
And I mean, I think there were still institutions open in the 90s, but just one or two, whereas things were just starting up in the 90s for you folks. And so really, and how far back, just for approximately, did that sort of Soviet era go? So how long would this have been going on that folks would have been sort of put in these institutions? Was it like 100 years, more or less?
Well, the Soviet Union didn't last for 100 years.
No, I don't know my history.
Now I have to tell you the exact time when the Soviet Union was formed, but it was after the World War One. So the Soviet Union was officially formed in December 30th, 1922. It was established then, right after following the Russian Civil War, which was following the World War One. Cannot give you the exact timeline for how long the people with special needs were institutionalized, because the country also had to go through World War II.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's enough. I mean, folks I think folks with sort of intellectual disabilities and mental illness in most of the world were probably in institutions around that time. And so really, but where it sounds like Soviet era countries weren't sort of privy to sort of the decades of sort of research in autism and mental illness and interventions and whatnot. And so really it's post 1991 is really when folks are for the first time maybe starting to look at treatments other than sort of maybe instead of this I'm making a presumptuary questions here, because I mean, even in institutions, there would have been potentially some sort of treatment happening. What was sort of the approach to sort of autism in particular, I guess, but also mental illness, sort of prior to autism in general, prior to sort of you folks coming in with ABA, and sort of prior to 1990. The second secret word is stigma. Stigma. Stigma.
I think I'm not very qualified to talk about the history in psychology in the Soviet Union, because I was mostly studying the history. I mean, I received a very, very Americanized, very westernized American education. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
also have to be very cautious about how to talk about the post-Soviet countries, especially
Fair.
because how, like, taking into consideration how large the territory is. Like, I assume different regions functioned also differently. I can't. They had their own psychology being developed during that time, which I was trained in a very like in a very different
Yeah.
field. My training is very like westernized, so it's
Yeah, I get it.
like, kind of different.
Yeah.
Behaviorism in what I can say is that behaviorism in Kyrgyzstan is very new. People used to be more accepting of cognitive behavioral therapy. But when it comes to children, like very nonverbal children, how would you use cognitive? Like, how would you use CBT with them? I don't really know.
Right.
So behaviorism, like very like applied behavior analysis, I would say was truly new. I mean, we all as psychologists usually receive training in behaviorism as one of the, I guess, fields and like schools in psychology. And that's what everybody does, I can say, in the post-Soviet psychology training as well. We all get training in behaviorism, in psychoanalysis, like introduction to psychoanalysis, introduction to
Sure.
CBT, introduction to behaviorism, introduction to all those schools in psychology. But then we have to specialize, correct? I decided to specialize in applied behavior analysis, and I also decided to specialize in humanistic psychology. Like, my background, I'm not a traditional behavior analyst. I can't say that. I love mental health counseling, so it's already pretty different.
Yeah.
So I do not do I can't do a very classic ABA, but it's different from my background. So I am very existential. I'm very humanistic. I love EMDR. I love my most recent trainings were in interpersonal therapy, IPT, which is different, like therapeutic play, like very, 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 very different from very classic ABA training. So applied behavior analysis was truly very different. It was very difficult for people to receive it, but then at the same time, it was the only thing that we could provide that was evidence-based at that time for children with special needs. It did help that, I think, it did help that my friend she has so much energy. I didn't really know where she's getting it from. And we received a lot of support, I think, from the university I went to, from a lot of acceptance and trust from parents of children with special needs. At the end of the day, it was very difficult for them. Anyways, they were willing to try new things. Yeah. And also from the foundation, from the organization that spreads information on autism. So we actually received a lot of support, and that's why I think ABA was eventually accepted and still is being accepted in the country. It's just very difficult for people in Kyrgyzstan, which is a poor country, to get training in applied behavior analysis. It's one thing when you live in the US and your average salary is X amount of dollars. It's a completely different thing when you live in Kyrgyzstan and your average salary is maybe $300 a month. And the training that you have to receive is usually in the US dollars. And how would you afford that? So for us, it's for people from my country, it's challenging. And I think we'll talk more about that when we get to the point why me and my colleagues developed the free RBT training. For people, Russian-speaking people, like one of the reasons was low access to education, primarily to financial strain. But I can also share that with the ABA parent training, so the best results were in the child domain. Once the child's behavior became like more predictable, more manageable, more everything, parents started to report reduced physical symptoms. And there's also research that does show that if you have children with special needs, the more demands those children place on you, the more poor your physical and mental health would be across countries. I mean, across domains. So I'm really for this research that my friend did that showed that even those 7 sessions were actually very helpful at reducing parenting stress and also reducing their reported symptoms, like perceived reported symptoms of depression and the overall like general health. And let me look at my graph. So the domains that have improved were children's distractibility and hyperactivity got reduced. The adaptability also improved. Parents started reporting that their interactions with their children became more reinforcing for them. which would probably also influence on a lot of things like their parenting competence, their feeling that they love the children or being loved by the children, this whole feeling that their relationship is more rewarding and reinforcing. The demands from children have also reduced because they learned how to do more things independently. The mood of parents also have improved, which are the depressive symptoms. And what was the most important thing, I guess, one of the most important things to see in the research, in this particular research, parents became more accepting of their children for who they are. And the research also tells us that once you begin to accept what's happening, your mental health improves, and it would help you to be more effective at actually looking for solutions and implementing those solutions.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
That's a very short overview of the manuscript that we're preparing for publication. But there are also more implications of that.
And has there been any follow-up at all with these parents?
No. No, we didn't get to that point yet. I mean, she did not. I would love to go back and do more research on the cultural aspect. I would personally love to do more qualitative research because when it comes to my personal research preferences, I like using mixed methods, research quantitative and qualitative. I really love taking interviews and analyzing those interviews and kind of like back up the numbers and be like, okay, so this is the story of the numbers. And I would personally like to see how this kind of trainings change the financial perspective of the family, because also research also shows that once you have a children with special needs, bills also change.
Of course.
Some parents have to change professions. Like my friend, she wanted to become a lawyer. Oh, she became a psychologist, and she's also on the path to become a behavior analyst. She's almost there. She just needs to take an exam. She's trying to avoid that as much as possible because she doesn't want to take exams, but she's almost there. It changes a lot of things. I've seen so many families who had to stop, like one of the spouses would have to stop working to become a full-time parent because the demands are too high. And then we have a very low access to education of children with special needs in the country. It's very difficult for I think the whole educational system is not very well prepared to work with children with severe behavioral challenges. They used to be in institutions, right? Now we're trying to become very inclusive. We're trying to promote inclusive education, but then the teachers now need to get additional training in how to manage children. Then we have the whole backlash from parents of children without disabilities. They do not want to see those children like studying with their children. So we need to do a lot of education around that area. And my master's thesis was on I really want to see what children value in friendships. Because once you transition children with special needs to institutions, you also need to teach them those friendship skills, like how to build a relationship, how to be a nice friend, how to be included in a group, how to not be excluded, and like understand those consequences. So a lot of research can be done in this area, like in so many different avenues. I don't know. Bullying, for example, can be one of them.
So that was 10 years ago. What does ABA look like today in Kyrgyzstan?
There are a lot of centers that provide applied behavior analysis services. There are way more people who are getting ABA training, just very slowly giving the financial strain. My university that I graduated from provides an elective actually two electives in applied behavior analysis. It's applied behavior analysis 1, I think, and applied behavior analysis 2, but I would have to go and ask them for the specific names, but they provide two classes. One,
great.
Yeah, so they provided all the time ever since I think 2013. So those psychology students who want to become a little bit more specialized in ABA, they do that, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
People seek for supervision, which is great. So we are developing slowly, but we're developing, and parents are beginning to value ABA more because we also had this. One of the challenges was that parents thought it was very difficult for them to accept the fact that it's a long-term thing. Once you start to see, like, if you want to see the results, ABA is not a short-term thing. You kind of sign up for long-term. So initially they thought that if they would sign up for 40 hours, they would get dramatic results and then their child would be cured. But they also had to go through the same. It's something that's difficult. So right now we have more people appreciating ABA. We have more support and like more collegial supports and acceptance from psychiatrists and psychologists and like speech pathologists. They would recommend ABA. Initially, unfortunately, people from other professions could not understand why ABA was a thing, so they would not recommend it. We're still fighting with the myth that ABA is a torture. But I think those kind of things also exist in the US. People,
Sure.
there are pros and cons of ABA, and that all depends on the quality of ABA. Like what you experience is, some people see it as, not a very good thing.
And so you say there's more clinics and whatnot. Are there where are folks getting trained to be behavior analysts? Are they still like going to the US? Are there any sort of coursework or approved sort of paths sort of in Russian that folks are maybe that are available for folks? So how are folks getting training and certification over there?
I think it has always been an online education usually.
Yeah.
It's just initially the courses that people went through were BACB approved courses. Right now, BACB is no longer international, that international like it used to be. So there are different organizations that approve coursework providers, and I'm one of them. I'm one of the approved coursework providers. And those organizations are International Behavior Analysis Organization and the QABA. Can't really I feel like very embarrassed because you have to look up the Qualified Applied Behavior Analysis Credentialing Board.
Yes.
So those two organizations are the ones that approve now the coursework providers. So people right now are going through the courses approved by them. And yes, there are courses available in Russian, there are courses available in Ukrainian, there are courses available in other languages right now. But still, it's quite expensive because it's really expensive. It takes them time to go through the whole coursework and take an exam and just become a behavior analyst and support and maintain the certification.
So tell me about some of the things that you're doing to maybe kind of mitigate some of that and some of the sort of the free trainings and services you're offering.
Yeah. So I did, when looking back at them, like when I started that, I feel like I don't even know how I decided to do that. I mean, I do know how I decided to do that. It's just, I never knew that I would do that because it's a lot of work. Sometimes it's too much work. It's a very personal decision when, the Russian-Ukrainian War started on February 24th. 2022. I saw a lot of people suffering. I saw a lot of people who had to lose their jobs. I saw a lot of people who didn't know what to do. And I have a Russian heritage. I speak Russian. I'm very proud of my Russian heritage. Let me just say it. And I'm proud of the Russian culture that I inherited. I also grew up with Russian-Ukrainian heritage. My grandma is a Cossack. Cossacks it's a very specific group of people that they are Russian military.
Okay.
It's a mixture of Ukrainians and Russians. So if you go back to history and look at Russian Empire, those were the people who would not agree. They would usually disagree with the main politics, like main line of politics in the country. They would just be like, okay, we're leaving the country, like we're going, and like they did not live according to the law. Let me say it very politely, but they were extremely experienced with fighting. At some point, Catherine the Great made a deal with them. She was like, "Okay, how about this? I would give you land. You will live on the borders of the Russian Empire. You will be accepted as like the lawful citizens and everything, but your job would be to protect the country." Both found it great. Both parties were like, okay, we can do what we like. We are accepted. We have the land. And those people were mostly people who were like very different. They were not very conforming people. military who
Sure.
decided to become military. I don't know. It was their own personal decision. So, and usually they were from Ukraine, usually they were from Russia, usually they were it's a mixture of all sorts of things. And those Cossacks came from the territory that's the current Ukrainian territory.
Okay.
So my ancestors spoke Ukrainian and Russian and everything. For me, seeing those two countries fighting felt like a personal family fight. I grew up mostly with Russian traditions and some, I can't even describe it, like some remnants of Ukrainian heritage, but it's different. It's very Russified. So, and I also disagree with what's happening. I am not from Russia. I have Russian heritage, but I also started feeling this hatred towards everything Russian. Russian language, Russian culture, Russian everything. But there are so many Russian descendants like me who disagree. And all I could do is do what I can and and kind of fight back and push back. I cannot fight, and I'm not going to fight for real, but I can support families.
Yeah.
Now, when we spoke a little bit more about the financial situation, this whole and all the challenges in applied behavior analysis and this whole field in Kyrgyzstan, you can kind of generalize that to post-Soviet regions.
Sure.
With an idea that Russia and Ukraine, especially Russia, had been way more developed when it comes, and is more developed when it comes to applied behavior analysis. Now, and like most people would receive training through those, if they were Russian-speaking courses, through Moscow. And now you see the war, countries are fighting right now. They're still fighting. Ukrainian people no longer want to take classes from Moscow. And they do not want to speak Russian anymore. And me and a lot of other people are disagreeing with what Russia is doing. All we could do was to start creating free webinars. Prior to the Russian-Ukrainian war, people had to pay for the coursework, right? And had to pay for the information. They had to pay for the CUs. They still have to pay for the CUs, but they had to pay for the access to the webinars. I decided to do them for free. I invited people. Like I said, I'm doing what you are doing, but in Russian.
Wow. That's amazing.
And I think that benefits a lot of people because the Russian-speaking community is huge. The former Soviet territory is large.
Yes.
We have such a large population that has low access to current education in special needs. But I feel like it's benefiting a lot of people. So my personal story is coming from me being very, very unhappy with the Russian-Ukrainian war, and me feeling that those people who had to flee the country, like Ukraine, they still speak Russian. I cannot speak Ukrainian, but I can speak Russian. They can access that in Ukrainian. I'm also working with other colleagues who are kind of translating some of the podcasts into Ukrainian, which is great, and I love that. And at some point, we sat down and felt like, okay, so we also need to raise more specialists in that region. That region doesn't really need English-speaking providers. They need their own providers.
Yes.
And education is very expensive. Yes. I don't think I'd be able to create a free training for behavior analysts. It's too much work, but I can at least create 40 hours of RBT training, but for those people. So we started recording webinars, lectures. We started developing the written content for people. They still need to, they will not receive the certificate of education for that, but they would still actually have access to all the materials and read and I guess be more educated about what autism is. So we developed lectures on what autism is, what intellectual disability is, like what kind of services people with special education need. So, but we try to meet the requirements of what BACB wants from RBTs, what QABA wants from their ABTs, the registered technicians, what IBAO wants from their own behavioral therapists. So we took all those requirements from 3 organizations and developed our coursework, which is not a 40-hour long coursework. It's a much longer coursework. And it took us several years to finalize it. We published the first draft and made it available for people. Let me actually tell you when exactly. Just give me a second. It happened March 11th, 2024.
Okay.
And then my colleague finished translating everything on, let me tell you, into Ukrainian. Can't give you the exact date, but it was December 2024, around that time.
Wow.
So right now, everybody who wants to have access to it, they have the access. I have a lot of people signing up for the course daily. I can't even tell you how many people. I have to look up the information on that, but maybe I can do it very quickly right now. I have around 2,000 people signed up. Yeah.
That's incredible.
I'm feeling very proud of this. Okay.
So you should, yeah. This is an amazing feat. And so is this a course that people take? Is this sort of a self-paced course, or?
It's a self-paced course.
Yeah.
It's a self-paced course that includes reading and watching videos, broken up into 83 mini classes.
It's incredible.
And I partnered with so many people who would write the text for me. I would write some text, they would write some text, and we would just like combine and look at it and verify it. Like, okay, so we feel okay to publish this small section. And then other people record lectures. Some other people record their own lecture that they shared with me. So it's a combination of, it's a work of so many people who wanted to do the same thing. So that's my personal contribution into this anti-Russian war.
Yeah. Oh, that's an amazing contribution. I'm impressed. Wow. Yeah.
I think the most rewarding thing for me is to receive feedback. From time to time, people would reach out to me like, okay, thank you so much for this coursework, because now I know a little bit.
And so the feedback has been pretty good so far?
It has been pretty good so far. Yeah. And I also usually, I think in my ideal world, I would love people to use it for like various reasons. Like I would like parents to go through the materials. I would like the future behavioral technicians to go through the material. I would like people to use it as a book. I don't know, as a reference book they could use for their own like services. I would like people to use it as a cheat sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, that's fantastic. And so where do folks go to find all this?
Okay, they would go to the website, which is abapsy.com, and they would have to create a free account to have access to it.
Straight to it.
And they can go straight to it. And that's where my webinars are also located. Same thing, same website. They also have to create their account, which is free, and watch the recordings.
And you also have a podcast. Where does that fit into all this?
Oh, those are the webinars. I mean, that's the podcast. Yeah.
That is the podcast. I got you. Okay, gotcha.
The way we do the podcast is like somebody would start a presentation, which we would work on together. Yeah, so we would try to also share the information like in a presentation format with people. And
so approximately how many sort of lessons are there in this course? You said it's much longer than sort of a 40-hour.
83.
83 lessons. Wow.
Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that meeting the requirements of 3 organizations would actually substantially increase the amount of hours in the coursework. I can tell you what we talk about in this free course. So we talk on neurodevelopmental disabilities. We talk about basic principles of ABA. We talk about data collection. We talk about visual analysis and graphs. Not extremely in-depth how you would actually talk about those kind of concepts if you would sign up for for the training to become a behavior analyst, but you still need to understand something to be more like to understand. To provide the work. To provide the services if you're a registered behavioral technician. We also talk about support in behavioral assessment, because behavioral technicians do assist behavior analysts in data collection and a lot of things. We also have information on what causes or what triggers challenging behaviors. We also talk about, since I'm a psychologist, we also talk about self-regulation a lot there.
Nice.
And how different disabilities also contribute. There is a high correlation between mental health disability and challenging behavior. The more challenges you have with intellectual disability, the higher likelihood of the behavioral challenges as well.
Sure.
And I do want hands to understand this correlation as well, and the behavioral therapists too, because sometimes you have to be very patient and understand how brain works and brain functions. If you come to the understanding how the brain functions, you would also understand that the memory state of people is different. The processing speed is different. The ability to interpret data is very different too. The ability to intake the data and retrieve the data is very different. All the different parts of the brain might work or not work. So depending on what you've got, you also might see different challenges in the behavior. A child might get frustrated, not because
For sure.
they want to be frustrated, but they just can't input the data.
They don't have a choice. Yeah. It's just the way it is. Yeah.
That's all they can do. And they would like some support, like let's say some visual support or some patience. And I think sometimes having more access to information helps with the patients, because it kind of describes like why.
Absolutely.
So we also talk about verbal behavior and also some pedagogical approach to providing the services. I think that's coming from school psychology. I did spend a lot of years on learning how to provide services the way, in the format that children could interpret, but that's a lot of pedagogy.
Yeah.
I think behavioral therapists can partner a lot with educators, and they can provide a lot of information on how to actually develop a skill.
Of course, yeah, that makes sense.
We also talk about behavioral interventions, because they need to know behavioral interventions, some academic interventions too, and how to provide services professionally. And we also talk about culture and those 83 mini lessons. So yeah, a lot of lessons.
A couple of things about the sort of the different certification boards that you had to sort of accommodate. Do you recall sort of, and if you can't answer this here, it's okay. I don't want you to have to go look up all the requirements, but I'm curious, what are might be some of the notable big differences between the credentialing boards that you sort of had to accommodate for?
I think one of the big differences is the QABA's requirements on the inclusion of the information of neurodevelopmental disabilities, which I love. They work a lot with DSM, and they really want their behavior analysts and behavior technicians to be familiar with DSM, which I agree with, because I think you do need to understand that there's some clusters of behavior are called this disability. And this cluster, this like a constellation of behaviors, is called this disability. And you do need to also understand how brain and behavior are related. And if you don't have this understanding, it's very difficult to provide services. So I feel like this is one of the major differences.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know that.
BACB and IBAO are more similar, but QABA is very different in that regard.
And then that's really interesting. I'll have to dig more into that with some other folks. I was curious also, being that the BACB isn't certifying folks internationally, why did you find it necessary to sort of include BACB in sort of your thinking when developing this course? Is it because you're also, some of the folks you're reaching out to are folks that are still maybe in North America and still seeking out that certification? Or what was sort of the need to include the BACB in the course design?
Well, I feel like BACB is one of the founding organizations, one of the most well-known organizations. And I am BCBAD, so that's the main organization I work with.
Sure.
That's the main organization I'm most familiar with. So I am trained under the requirements of BACB, so that's why I'm really used to it, and I use it as a basis usually all the time because the organization is much older than other two organizations, and they have more history in developing their requirements, I think, and changing their requirements. They have a huge team working on those, I guess, exams and requirements and like ethics and everything. They, in my personal opinion, they have more experience with it. And I also like looking at different organization requirements to see what are the gaps, like in each list of requirements are to see if this is something to take into account. And since I did try to do something, I guess, important for me for people from the post-Soviet region, and I also wanted to create something good. So for me personally, I felt like following the requirements of the three organizations also meant for me personally to develop something that would meet multiple requirements and multiple, like, I guess, needs of people. Some people need more of like very specific information how to develop, deliver an instruction. Some people would want to understand more what a disability is. Some people would want to eventually look to become certified in IBAO. And IBAO, I feel like, are very good at spreading or like pushing for inclusion to become culturally competent. I think all three organizations are doing, but I feel like I don't know, maybe it's my personal bias because I am a board member there, advisory board member.
Yep.
But I feel like they're doing a little better job at pushing for the cultural competence piece.
Well, they do have that CEU requirement as well that I don't know if the other ones have. So
BACB is going to do that too.
Right.
They are about to, which I feel like is good, but also it means that I have to think more about my CEUs right now that I have to maintain. But they're going to also make this as a requirement. But what I like about QABA, their requirement for CEU is trauma.
Interesting. Okay, yeah.
So I feel like, and since I am very deep in trauma work, I see how crucial it is. I have actually a podcast with my supervisor in school psychology. She's also a neuropsychologist. And we talked about how trauma affects brain functioning and how it really manifests in behavior. And if you do not understand how trauma works, you might develop unrealistic expectations from yourself and your children. You can develop a beautiful behavior plan, but it will not work because of trauma. Because trauma changes how brain works on the neurological level. It will take a lot of time and a lot of care and a lot of work to rewire the brain back to normal. If you can, I don't.
No, that's really cool that they require the trauma CEUs. It's actually, you may be aware that the BACB actually changed their mind again, though, and they're now not doing the cultural CEU requirement.
I understand why now.
Yeah.
We're living in a different political world right now. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, so they removed that. There was a bit of an uproar, and what they've done now is they've made it so that the sort of DEI related material will qualify as ethics CEUs. And so I think they're gonna you'll see a lot more ethics offerings in that area, but they're not requiring sort of that specific amount. But you're right; it's entirely because of the political climate and some of the changes there.
Political climate is just so difficult because we are at my university. I was hired to help to launch the master's level specialist level in school psychology, which is a 3-year coursework, and we had to strip all the language as well from the like program description and everything. We are very different now.
Yeah, so difficult. I was curious, actually, just on the related, since you mentioned it, has any of that sort of affected, funding for any of the research that you're doing?
I am what I'm focusing right now is on publications of the existing manuscripts that have not been published. I am not applying for grants at the moment, but
I see.
From what I'm hearing from my colleagues and everyone, it's extremely challenging right now to receive grants.
Yeah.
Because the funding for education has been cut substantially, and so was the funding for research, especially if you want to do something with diverse populations.
Yeah.
And I have to be very also very, I guess, cautious with what I say. Sorry.
Of course. Yeah, no, understood. Yeah. Well, and we'll probably just cut that out anyway. But circling back to the ABA training again, now that you've got your 83 lessons and you've got 2,000 folks signed up, is there
close to 2,000? It's
close to
almost
2,000? It'll probably be 2,000 now. What are sort of the next sort of steps? Where do you see this going, and where how do you see you building on this, or are we going to leave this alone for a little bit and work on something else?
I would like to continue working on my podcast because I've learned that I really like talking to my colleagues and spending time with them, talking on different topics, meeting new people.
Yeah.
It has become fun for me. Initially, I was very scared of doing that. I did not want to put myself out there, and people were scared as well. They were like, okay, so now we'll have to be very public. Like, why? Yeah, but all of us have been receiving a lot of positive feedback from the Russian-speaking community and the Ukrainian-speaking community, people from Kyrgyzstan. They all appreciate the access right now to knowledge. So I want to continue doing that. Yeah. I also want to keep my RBT training updated. That will take time. That will take a lot of maintenance, I think, because the information changes. All the research is being published, and I will have to keep that updated. I think I'm working on developing mock questions for the IBT exams, like the RBT exam, like some training questions in Russian. So that's where my focus is, which I might publish for free. I don't really know. Right now, I'm also it's taking me a lot of time right now.
Of course.
I'm also trying to my main focus right now is my main job. That's the academic world.
Yeah.
And since I'm doing this portion of work for free, it's taking me longer. It's not my main.
Of course, yeah.
It's not my money making machine.
Not to mention being a school psychologist for a day and a half a week too.
Yeah, that's going to happen. That's going to start. So my academic year is starting in a few weeks.
Yeah.
In a week and a half.
Yeah. Wow. Anastasiia, you're doing some incredible work. Your career is, it is just so diverse, and your experiences have been so diverse. And I love sort of the motivation and reasoning for you to develop this free training. And I think it's probably having an even larger impact than you're aware, and I can only see it growing.
And that was one of the recommendations, one of my colleagues as well. I was just thinking about having it for free. She was like, no, do it. And it's like, why don't you do it? Like, let's do it together. It's like, okay.
The third secret word is support. 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 We're in. Well, I'm sure it's making a huge impact in so many different communities.
So
really impressed with everything you're doing, and really grateful that you came on the podcast to share this story with me. And I hope we can stay in touch and have you back again.
I would love to. And if you're ever interested who those colleagues are and who those people are I'm working with, all their names, that's for everyone. All their names are published and under each, in the end of each lesson.
Okay.
I have a published name who contributed to the text development or the video development, which is, I am not the only one who did this. I don't want to claim all the work. Even the ABA parenting training that I talked about, that was developed by my colleague and friend Anastasiia. That's her bachelor's thesis. I just want to publish it because I think that the world should know that something is happening in Kyrgyzstan and there is research happening there. So it's not just me. It's me and a lot of people.
Yes.
I don't think it's possible to do it as
acknowledging all those collaborators. That's awesome. Yeah, good. Wow. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was awesome. I hope you enjoyed learning about Dr. Yun's work in Kyrgyzstan. Here are some conversations with behavior analysts from nations nearby. Episode 216, Behavior Analysis in Slovenia, with Maya Simjanovsky. Episode 191, Behavior Analysis in Belarus, with Hanna Kalanuskaya. Episode 184, Behavior Analysis in Ukraine, with Alla Moskalets. And episode 175, Autism in Serbia, with Dr. Maria Kojic. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok, and subscribe to our YouTube page @BehaviorSpeak. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.